Hello, I'm Tabitha Mothoni and welcome to On the Farms of Africa. This is a show that brings you various tech farming methods, trending and emerging agribusinesses in Africa. This week, we take you to Gitaro, Central Kenya, where we take a look at rabbit farming. Later, George Kibanya, CEO of Alcare Kenya Limited, gives us an in-depth insight on the rabbit farming sector. Gone are the days when rabbits were meant for small boys. Today, rabbit farming in Kenya has become a viable commercial venture for one Mr. George Kibanya, the founder of Alcare Kenya Limited. Let's have a look at his rabbit farming venture. Back in the day, rabbits lived in the bush. But today, they are well tamed in our homes for personal and commercial purposes. Let's meet George Kibanya, a very passionate rabbit breeder.
Rabbit farming is not new in Kenya because many families or many people have gone through a stage in life where the parents wanted to instill responsibility in them. And maybe at standard 5 or 6, the peer pressure forces you to get a rabbit. Either you are given by your neighbors or by your friends, or you even steal, like I did. And then you bring it to your homestead, you build a ramshackle cage for the rabbit, and then you keep on looking after the rabbit. When you come from school, you feed it. In the morning before you go to school, you feed it, and that instills a responsibility in you. And that has rekindled a passion in me that when I was working, I had to leave employment to come and do rabbit farming, something that I picked when I was young.
As captivating as he is, George is the Chief Executive Officer of Alcare Kenya Limited, a rabbit contracting and demo farm situated in Gitaro, Central of Kenya.
Alcare Kenya Limited is a rabbit farming contracting firm where we look for farmers, or the farmers approach us, and then we advise them on how to do the rabbit farming. This farmer is regardless of age. They could be children, they could be the youth, they could be ladies, they could be men, they could be aged, they could be young. So anybody can be able to do rabbit farming. 10 years ago is when I started doing professional rabbit breeding for farmers. Indeed, many farmers have passed through my hands in terms of training them and in terms of the concept of contract farming, and some have done well and some have not done well, depending on how they took it up. The process that we take the farmer through in terms of contract farming is, first of all, training. Apart from training, we do what we call cage construction or hatch construction. Then we do what we call site visits. We cannot stock your farm, or rather we cannot recruit you as a contracted farmer before we come to your farm and before you come to our farm, so that we know each other from the word go. You see what you are seeing here in this farm. You see how the cages are done. You see how the urine is collected, and many other issues. We train you on disease prevention and treatment, because once we leave you with the rabbits, you become the vet in quotes. Sometimes I hear very annoying stories where a farmer calls a vet and the vet keeps coming until the rabbit dies because they are not conversant with what? With the rabbit diseases. Then they tell the farmer that we will actually provide what we call diagnosis. What is the diagnosis doing? The service was supposed to prevent the death of the rabbit, not anything after the death of the rabbit. So we try and train farmers on how they can become mini vets in their farms to prevent diseases and to treat diseases. We also provide what we call mentorship. The investor could be not available to look after the animals, so they will leave it to somebody else, and some of them are telephone farmers. So what we do, you bring your caretaker to this farm. Each and every day they wake up and do what our caretakers do. By the time they are going back to your farm, they will be conversant with rabbit farming. So apart from those services, we also now do what we call the harvest. But before we do the harvest, we monitor and visit those farmers occasionally to find out how they are doing. This training is not only for starting the farming, but also for the 3 years, because our minimum contract is 3 years. You call us even if it is in the middle of the night, even if it is 2 a.m., you call us with a problem and we'll be able to assist you. The harvest is a very important part of that contract because, as you know, rabbits do not have a very big domestic market. So we provide the market for the farmer. But there are conditions they are supposed to meet before we buy their rabbits. If you look at these rabbits, they are not 1 kilogram. They are heavy enough. So one of the conditions is that the rabbit that you rear or the rabbit that we are coming to harvest must be 3 kilograms and above. This breed is able to achieve that even more. After training you, you should be able to achieve the 3 kilograms and above. Number 2 is, of course, volumes. While we supply you with the females, which give birth to 6 onwards to even to 12 young ones on a monthly basis, we then have a minimum we should be able to get from you, and that is 50 rabbits. 50 rabbits is easy to achieve because if the minimum is 16, 12 females and 4 males, 12 females will give you 72. So we want you to bring up those 72 and not going lower than 50 by the time you are coming to harvest. Otherwise, you're supposed to deliver the rabbits here if they are less than 50.
A doe or a female rabbit gives birth after 28 to 30 days, with each pregnancy resulting in 7 to 13 bunnies or baby rabbits. The one Canada Giant is the breed George rears here. It has a high ratio of meat to bone at 80 to 20 ratio. This rabbit can do well in both cold and hot areas, arid and semi-arid areas. It gives a return investment within 2 harvests and is highly resistant to diseases compared to other breeds and so many other positive traits.
All we did was to actually import some breeds and then domesticated them or localized them through scientific and genetic research to the extent that the final result was getting a rabbit called Canada Doan Giant Rabbit. So this is from the Canada Giant breed, and that is what we propagate in Kenya, or rather in Africa. We are in every part of this country, in every county. These rabbits can grow from -10 degrees to 60 degrees. And if you look at the coldest habitable place in this country, we can be able to do this farming. The gestation period of a rabbit is 28 days to 35 days. Definitely that depends on the genetic makeup of the rabbit. It takes 3 months for a rabbit to develop male or female characteristics in terms of giving birth or in terms of serving. But we say the best male to serve should be 7 months old and the female should be 6 months old. So when you are being left with the 20%, they should grow to that age before you start serving them. If you harass that system, they also get harassed in terms of their system and they will stunt. And when they stunt, it takes a lot of time and a lot of care for you to be able to regain the proper reproductive system. Although for us, we have a chemical that we use to induce them to come back to giving birth. This is how you hold the rabbit. You don't hold the ears and hang the rabbit like this. You can see how it's behaving. But when I hold here and separate and support the back, the rabbit is now cool. All right? Now, you have to hold the back here and you hold the scruff at the shoulders. The rabbit feels comfortable. It is not doing what? It's not throwing its tantrums. It is comfortable. Now, if you want to check the gender, you have to check this area. Check the organs. So, yes, this is a male. So, this is a female. Harvest from the farmer, the first thing is to grade those animals. There could be gaps in terms of weight achievement. Some of them we keep them for a little longer and fatten them. Fattening them means them accumulating more muscles because we have what we call fatteners. Others, they go to slaughter for local consumption, all for export. When the farmers are calling you, they want to buy a rabbit, they tell you, I want a big rabbit, or rather a big male. So what do? They just come and give them a big rabbit. They don't even ask you what breed do you have. They don't ask you what do I expect from this breed. They don't even bother the record. Was it sick? So we always advise them. Can we be able to expertly advise you on the kind of rabbits you have, or rather you like to buy? And even when farmers come here and they put their order, some try to give prescription that I want black rabbits, I want white rabbits, I want big, I want small, all sorts of characteristics. But if you go by that, they may not get what we expect them to get. When the young ones have been born, you must ensure that the mother is breastfeeding them, yourself as a farmer. Some notorious mothers refuse to breastfeed the young ones out of a certain reason. Maybe some things changed when it was pregnant, or there are some distractions, environmental distractions like dogs barking and all those things. When it is not breastfeeding properly, we use something we call nursery method. Nursery method means that you take those young ones, keep them aside warm, introduce them to the mother twice a day until 10 days are over. These young ones, remember they are born farless, so they are vulnerable. They can die easily. But after 10 days, they'll have actually grown far and they will be able to hustle the mother and be able to breastfeed. So after 10 days, you introduce the young ones back to the mother. How do you know that a young one has been breastfed by the mother? You look at the body. If you see it emaciated or you see the ribs protruding, so what do? You hold the mother for the young one to breastfeed. After breastfeeding stage, we now come to what we call the weaning stage. It is the weaning stage that we establish the muscle or the growth pattern of the young rabbit. Normally, what happens is that you separate the mother and the young one. Put the young ones in what we call a wrong room. A farm has the pharmacy. We have the normal cages, we have wrong rooms, and we have quarantine cages. You separate the healthy ones and the sick ones. You put the sick ones here. Children, or what we call bunnies from different mothers, are put in the wrong rooms together to compete in terms of drinking water, in terms of playing, and in terms of feeding. The rabbits you converted to parents in the wrong room, back to the herd, you don't need the mother any longer. You now need to think about who will serve this girl who has come. Definitely rabbits have a problem with the first kindling after virginity. Some rabbits will eat their young ones. Some rabbits will have what we call false pregnancy. Some rabbits will even have what we call abortion. But it is not conclusive that that's a bad mother when that happens. It requires you to test several times for you to see that this is really a bad mother, because normally 80% are good mothers. For us as Alcare Kenya, what we do to farmers is that we don't give them that problem of testing and experimenting. All we do is to establish rabbits that can give them young ones from the word go, so that they don't waste time and money. We have been able to survive rabbits by about 70-80%. If we did not do the fostering, the survival for the fittest game would have ensured that at least many bunnies would die from one mother. But when you foster, very few die. So that's the way to go. You don't do a pregnancy test on rabbits. But you also need a scientific way of knowing whether the rabbit conceived or not. There are several methods, some scientifically proven and some have just been originated by farmers. One of them is introducing the female to the male, and it produces some complaining sound. But remember, that could be false, because some female rabbits that will make that noise, and you wait after the gestation period and nothing comes out of that rabbit. Another method is when the male is mounting the female, it falls on the side. It could fall on the side through a kick. It simply means that when it falls on the side, the female has conceived. That's the belief. But that's also not scientifically proven. When the serving process is going on, the farmer should also be supervising. It is observing that the action is happening, because maybe those two rabbits were not compatible. You hold the rabbit facing you, like that, and then put your fingers here. So you must differentiate between droppings, because that's the last stage of the production of the droppings, and you feel the nodules, or you feel the embryo forming after 10 days. These ones have been served for about 3 days, so nothing. But after 10 days, you can be able to feel the embryos lined up, hard, round nodules. So the female rabbit will be rough at the start, but then it will cool down as you continue, feeling the feeding the nodules.
Rabbits love their food and enjoy fresh fruits and vegetables as a part of a balanced diet, as well as plenty of clean water.
When a rabbit is pregnant, you are supposed to feed it with all kinds of feeds and a lot of water. Improved or quality water. Quality water here means that you have put multivitamins in that water. So you have forages, you have mash feed, you have pellets, and it should be able to access all those kinds of feed. When it gives birth, or when it kindles, you are supposed to enhance its iron level in the body. Therefore, you are supposed to use what we call DCP or even fattener to ensure that the rabbit gains its strength after giving birth. In the long rooms, you may be having very many feeders. You should have a good number of feeders. For instance, if you have 20 bunnies, definitely you can count this for about 5 of them. So you should have 4 of these. So 8, the feeder for food and for water. But to make that a bit easy, what we do is that we construct what we call a long room feeder, which is a feeder that has small holes where the young rabbit cannot get in, but you just feed and be able to give the other space to be able to eat. Because what happens with these feeders is that when they are feeding, because these cages are, or rather these feeders are warm inside than the cages, what happens is that the young ones will come and sit on the feed and fill up this. So what will happen to any other young rabbit that wanted to eat? It won't get space, and therefore it will continue having what we call slow growth. So when you have many rabbits together eating together, they can compete, but in that competition it could bring some negative aspects, where some rabbits here are not eating enough because there are those which are gluttonous and there are those which are slow eaters. So what happens is that this farmer must be keen to be able to separate the slow eaters from the gluttonous ones. So what happens is that you then have a separate long room where the slow eaters will be kept to be eating slowly. Very, very important, so that both the gluttonous and the slow eaters grow at a good pace to maturity. The young ones should also access all kinds of food. Ensure that they access all types of feed except fresh weeds, which will make them bloat. Their digestive system is a bit sensitive, and there are some feeds that we prescribe they should be fed, and that includes grass leaves, hay. So little of the wilted weeds, because the category of feeds is the dry feeds and the forages, and now the multivitamins and the water. So you have to be careful what you are feeding them. Green should not be green, fresh green. It should be wilted, washed wilted weeds. Like cabbages, they should be washed because of the leftover residues of maybe anything that you sprayed, any pesticides that you sprayed and all that. Sweet potato vines should be washed and then wilted so that they drop the level of chlorophyll. That green, drops. If it's kumawiki, they should turn yellow because of the acidic levels, which should be low. We prefer giving them dry matter. Remember, this animal came from the wilderness. It was domesticated. That domestication meant that in the forests, what is abundant there? It is grass. And most of the times, it is dry grass. So we prescribe that you actually use hay or dry grass for those young ones, so that issues to do with bloating, although we have trained you on how to control them, should not be there. Because once they bloat, sometimes they don't recover at that tender age. That level from young adults to seniors. Seniors are those who have given birth several times. They should be feeding on, except when the rabbit has a certain condition, either sick or pregnant, they should feed on 300 grams per 12-hour day. Of course, embossed with multivitamins and fatteners. But they should access all kinds of feeds. You should also be having what we call toys in the long rooms. Toys is simply like a bottle, a plastic bottle well corked. For us, we have what we call tires, used tires. They get in, they run around, something to keep them busy.
With proper care, feeding and timely vaccination, rabbits are less likely to fall ill. But in case that happens, the diseases can be prevented as well as treated.
Now we have 5 common diseases in rabbits in Kenya. Most of these diseases can be prevented. They are curable, and I must say this, that the more you prevent diseases in your farm, the way you build the cages and the way you feed your rabbits determines success in rabbit farming in Kenya. The 5 common diseases, one of them is the weepy eye. The weepy eye, you will see white substance coming from the eyes. It can be easily controlled, or rather treated. It's called conjunctivitis, and normally it comes from environmental issues or contamination with a dirty environment. The other common disease is what we call the ear canker. Ear canker is where you see brown substances inside the ear. What happens is that those are dead cells of the ear. It's also easily treatable. You have to press the ear, that substance and the pus comes out before you treat with the liquid paraffin. Very easily treatable. The other disease is coccidiosis that comes from food. And just like in chicken, it is a digestive system problem. And normally with coccidiosis, it can kill your rabbits very fast. So you should change the rabbit, the regime of feeding very fast when you see indications. The other disease that is common when it comes to rabbits is what we call mange. Mange, you will see dusty white flies, or rather mites, that actually start with the nose. They start from the nose, they spread all over to the other parts of the body, including the legs and the ears, at the edges of the ears, where you see very hard scruff here because of the mites. Now, the mites are very easy to control. And why they start with the nose is because the nose is sniffing. Every time it is sniffing to know whether this is food or not food. And now the mites jump to the nose as it is sniffing. Okay, look at the whiskers here. Those are the common diseases I see with rabbits. Of course, worms may not be so common, but you should deworm your rabbits every 3 months. So there is no reason why a farmer should not be able to achieve rabbit farming in Kenya, just because of those diseases. And that's what we train farmers each and every time, to ensure that they know what is happening with their rabbits. Before we stock a certain farmer's farm, what we do is that we vaccinate the rabbits with vaccines from Australia. These vaccines are not applied through mouth, they are applied through the shoulders. Or between the ear, okay? So you just suckle, and then you have like 3 drops. The bacterial diseases, like ear canker, of course this is for surgery when you're operating the rabbits. This is for pneumonia, it's called pen and stripe. Injectable, you inject through the ear, because that's where you can see the vein, you put in the blood using the needles.
So what you do, you just do what?
They're not in Kenya. Kenya has not managed to get them. I don't know why. But for chicken, Zika, animals, Zika. Then we have, do you remember mange? The one of the skin is what we use. It's called supermeg. These are available here. Available here also, liquid paraffin for the ear canker. It's available here. Do you remember weepy eye or conjunctivitis? We use optic rocks. It's available in Kenya. Remember, most of the drugs used for rabbit farming are used for chicken farming or dog farming. There are no rabbit-specific drugs in Kenya. So you simply use the ones for dogs, the ones for chicken, the ones for cows. These are for cows and goats, and you manage.
George is highly excited about the end production process. The urine is used as farm fertilizer and in learning institutions, as well as in his demo farm, resulting to increased healthy yields.
we examine the urine. You have actually been able to accumulate and test the pH, because you are supposed to give me urine that has pH 8 and 14. What determines the pH? It is the amount of water in the urine. An element of the feed. Okay? The feed that pours in when the rabbit is eating is normally deposited below here. All these are samples that I mixed and took for analysis to Kenya Agricultural and Livestock Organization, CARO, for analysis. While you get the analysis of urine itself, then you improve it by adding other additives. Then you take it for analysis again until I achieved a good fertilizer. So the urine that we are now seeing in this room are from 3 farmers. This farmer is in Kiambu, this farmer is in Kinongi area near Naivasha, and this farmer is in Ongata Rongai. We feel in that they have actually delivered the urine, and I pay after 60 days. After knowing the pH level, then we sieve this urine. Why are you sieving? To remove that white substance you are talking about, and also to remove any droppings and any impurities in the urine. The skin. This is tanned rabbit skin, which is not done in Kenya, but we do it here manually. You simply turn the skin, and then you remove the layers. The rabbit skin has layers all the way from the leftover meat that is left when you slaughter. As you are turning, you keep on removing the layers, and then you do something we call splitting. Splitting is removing now the final layers that are skin themselves. And then using chemicals, you'll be able to achieve this. Rabbit nails, which you grind and you mix with wax, melted wax. You heat this is color. You mix with this, you'll be able to achieve this. This is the wick. This is what burns with the help of the wax and the fragrance. So this will perfume your house. If you smell, you.
Well-structured cage houses are best suitable for commercial rabbit farming, as they are well spaced to contain both male and female rabbits together, as well as comfortable compared to other housing facilities.
Rabbits sit with their hind legs on the ground, but the front legs also touch, so it supports itself on a bending position, not like a cow or a goat which can stand on fours. For that purpose, we introduced a material that is not found in Kenya and substituted with what is found in Kenya. What is found in Kenya is a chicken wire. Very common. This is very common. This is half inch. Half inch is this hole. But if you look at this material, it will scratch the bottom of the rabbit while it is in its cage. And we looked for a material that would be more comfortable for the rabbit in that position. And after doing research all over the world, we came up with this material. This is what we call Forgia wire. It is PVC coated, and therefore when the rabbit is sitting on this material, it will not get injured. Very, very important. And therefore it won't develop sores, and they'll be comfortable. Both the adult rabbit or a rabbit in any stage of its development. Bunnies perform a dance at night called bunny dance, and while they are playing or they are dancing, they will have a problem with that material, but this material is so comfortable on them. So when you are building the cages, you have to use this on the sides and also on the floor. But you also take care of the environment. If it's so cold, then you have to emboss this with maybe plywood or something that will make that cage more warm. This material is what we use, and because not available in Kenya, what we do is that we import it for farmers. Like this, these 3 rolls are already booked by some farmers. During the contracting, once they are through with the paying and all that, we then build the cages using this material and not this. A roll of this material is 15,000 shillings. For economy purposes, we advise the farmers to use this material for the floor only. For the sides, we try and advise them to use this material so that they can save on their investment on their assets as they continue building the cages. It is 25 meters length and 4 feet wide. This material is long lasting. It cannot rust. This material enables you to have what we call self-cleaning cage. Self-cleaning cage means that the droppings and the urine are not deposited in the cage where the animal is. As you can see, it is half an inch. The droppings are smaller than half an inch, so they will be able to go through this material. For successful rabbit farming, you need, apart from nutrition and prevention of diseases, construction of the cages becomes very important as a third item in terms of successful rabbit farming. Now, why rabbit meat is the cleanest meat is because rabbits are brought up or reared off the ground the whole of their lives. And therefore, when you are building for the rabbits, there is the ideal size of the cage that you need to think about. And the way you build for rabbits is that the cage must be off the ground. Should be 1 foot off the ground, and then you should leave space for you to collect the urine, where you put the transparent sheets, plastic sheets, for you to be able to collect the urine, so that you can be able to use the urine in the farm or to make fertilizer or to supply to healthcare to make organic fertilizer. So this distance is very, very important so that your sweep or your cleaning equipment can be able to go inside here and be able to remove the waste. That's the urine and also the droppings. But after this area of the liner where you collect the urine and the droppings, you now have to come to where the rabbit sits. And the rabbit sits on a flat floor. And this is where you need the foggier material that can be able to ensure that you have what we call self-cleaning. Self-cleaning here means that the droppings and the urine do not stay with the rabbit after at any moment, and therefore it comes to this liner and it's collected from the waste pipe here. Now, the size of the cage should ideally be 3 feet by 2.5 feet width and 2.5 feet height. So they should be 3 feet. The width should be 2.5 feet and the height here should be 2.5 feet. Why? So that the rabbit is able to stretch on the floor of the cage, and also whether it wants to stretch upwards in terms of standing in the cage. Then after that, the height of the caretaker or the farmer is very, very important. There are farmers that will build 2 stacks, and there are farmers that will build 3 stacks depending on the height. Like my height is 3 stacks, but my friend is 2 or 1 for that matter. Yeah, so that we don't want you to use an item to climb and be able to service your rabbits. Why? You could have an accident, and who will be caring for those rabbits? The other reason is that we need you to be going to the farm more than once in a day or many times. You don't have to be climbing on that item for you to be able to be seeing your rabbits very well. So we need the natural floor and your height. You can be able to see all your animals, so that you can be able to know when they are hungry, when they are sick, or when whatever they need in at a particular time of the day. In terms of washing, it simply means that you can be able to wash the liners from towards the front or towards the back. so that because the animal likes droppings, or rather it likes a hidden and a dark area to actually be able to have the droppings, and the urine too. So some places will be hidden in your cage, and if this space is not available or it's small, you'll be having a problem, and bacteria will accumulate in that particular area, which will make your rabbits sick. So this is how you build for the rabbits. Of course, the roof could be either transparent material, because you have the roof of the structure. You can have a transparent material on top of the cages, or you can have the normal iron sheets. The only problem is that you should ensure there is no big spaces around here, because other pests can come in, including rats. And rats will do what? Rats come in and eat the same feed that your rabbit is feeding on, and therefore could spread viral diseases. The other thing is that if it's a mother who has given birth, rats can eat the young ones, and that's what we call a loss in your farm. So ensure that you build to an extent that your rabbits are secure, and even from human beings, if they are so insecure, you can actually put a proper latch with a padlock here to ensure that your rabbits are locked in very well. I don't know if you have any questions. Now, rabbits are susceptible to what we call safari ants, and safari ants may invade your farm at night when you are not in the farm. So we have a way to prevent them from actually destroying, or rather being a problem to your rabbits, and by use of used oil. When you service a car, this is the oil that comes out. And what do? You apply that oil to the bottom 1 foot of your farm, so that when the safari ant comes, it will be repelled by that oil, not to touch not to actually climb to where your rabbits are. And what's the danger of safari ants? The danger is that they get into the rabbit fur, they access the skin, prick the skin, and then that sore attracts germs. Those germs are what accumulates to the death of your rabbit because of invasion by bacteria. And you see, they can actually go to every rabbit in your farm, and in the morning you will see carcasses. So that's why it is very, very important for you to apply or to use this oil to prevent the safari ants from attacking your rabbits. For successful rabbit farming, you need, apart from nutrition and prevention of diseases, construction of the cages becomes very important as a third item in terms of successful rabbit farming. Why rabbit meat is the cleanest meat is because rabbits are brought up or reared off the ground the whole of their lives. The cage must be off the ground, should be 1 foot off the ground, and then you should leave space for you to collect the urine, where you put the transparent sheets, plastic sheets, for you to be able to collect the urine, so that you can be able to use the urine in the farm or to make fertilizer or to supply to Alcare to make organic fertilizer. So this distance is very, very important, so that your sweep or your cleaning equipment can be able to go inside here and be able to remove the waste. This area of the liner where you collect the urine and the droppings, you now have to come to where the rabbit sits, and the rabbit sits on a flat floor, and this is where you need the foggier material that can be able to ensure that you have what we call self-cleaning. Self-cleaning here means that the droppings and the urine do not stay with the rabbit at any moment, and therefore it comes to this liner and it's collected from the waste pipe here. The size of the cage, they should be 3 feet, the width should be 2.5 feet, and the height here should be 2.5 feet. Why? So that the rabbit is able to stretch on the floor of the cage, and also whether it wants to stretch upwards in terms of standing in the cage. The height of the caretaker or the farmer is very, very important. There are farmers that will build 2 stacks, and there are farmers that will build 3 stacks depending on the height. Like my height is 3 stacks. We don't want you to use an item to climb and be able to service your rabbits. Why? You could have an accident, and who will be caring for those rabbits? The other reason is that we need you to be going to the farm more than once in a day or many times. You don't have to be climbing on that item for you to be able to be seeing your rabbits very well.
With such consistency put in place by Alkia Kenya Limited, rabbit farming could take over the lead in the white meat market in Kenya as amongst the major export income earners in the nation. George Gitau Kibanya has a Bachelor of Arts in Humanities and Social Sciences from the Kenyatta University in Nairobi, Kenya. He also has a Certificate of Proficiency in Insurance from the College of Insurance, Nairobi, Kenya. George has participated in various postgraduate trainings such as the Strategic Leadership Center in Nairobi, Kenya, Global Alliance for Improved Nutrition, ISO Auditor, PricewaterhouseCoopers, British Council from Nairobi, Kenya, amongst others. Professionally, George is a media personality. From 1990 up to 1996, George has worked with the Nation Media Group Limited as a news correspondent. He has also worked with the Standard Media Group Limited in various media posts. Currently, he is the Chief Executive Officer of Alkia Kenya Limited and also participates in various media platforms as a moderator. George, what do I need to start rabbit farming?
The first thing that you need to start rabbit farming is passion. You need to like rabbits. The next, of course, thing is resources. You need capital. This capital will buy the breeds themselves. They'll help you in building to come up with the rabbit hatches and the associated materials and equipment for the farming. Apart from that, you need land or space. The space is not that large, it should be a small space. But you also need to ensure that you build the cages according to the space you have, so that it also dictates the number of rabbits that you start with. So basically that is what you need: passion, capital, and space.
For me to be a successful rabbit farmer, for commercial purposes, how many rabbits should I start with?
Any number of rabbits that you have as a farmer is economical. But when you're thinking about agribusiness or when you're thinking about commercial aspect of rabbit farming, you need volumes. And these volumes start from 50 rabbits and above. So that when you do your calculations, you have a bottom line that is profitable. Yes. But in terms of the young ones, the parents, at least you need 12 females and 4 males for it to be productive, or rather for that farming to be sustainable.
And what challenges are facing our rabbit farmers in Kenya?
The greatest challenge that is facing these rabbit farmers in Kenya, is actually attitude.
Attitude?
Yes, attitude. While Kenyan farmers are used to maybe pyramid schemes, most of the farmers believe you need to do very little to your rabbits for them to give you money, which is a fallacy. There is work to be done in rabbit farming. So put in the right gear for positive attitude, and then don't backslide in between there when you are doing the farming. Don't backslide to indigenous farming. Give your rabbits the best in terms of time and in terms of resources, and you will get results. The second challenge is definitely capital. Not one bank in Kenya has an agriculture related product that suits rabbit farming in Kenya. The normal products that we have from banks in Kenya are not geared towards benefiting the rabbit farmer very much. Indeed, in my practice or in my experience, very few farmers have been loaned by local banks using the farming itself. Farmers will be asked for collaterals, and the people, like especially the youth, do not have collateral, and therefore they end up doing the farming from very little scale, and therefore they will take time before they grow up to commercial rabbit farmers from a commercial point of view. Yes, definitely the other challenges come in issues like diseases. First of all, we do not have rabbit specific drugs in Kenya. We use drugs that are meant for chicken and other bigger animals, and that's a challenge because the farmer may not know what to buy at what particular time. The second thing is that we do not have many veterinary officers in Kenya are not conversant with rabbit diseases. So once you bring the problem to the veterinary officer, they may treat it like they would treat the same issue or disease in other animals, and what ends up not benefiting the farmer because the rabbits actually end up maybe dying. Lastly, the challenge of tradition and religion comes in as far as consumption of rabbit meat is concerned. Some people believe they can't eat animals that have pawed feet, and this prohibits, or rather this limits the consumption of rabbit meat in this country. So of course the market is also a challenge.
Yes.
Right from indigenous rabbits that are being reared by farmers all the way to exotic and mixed breed and mixed and pedigrees that we have around in the country do not have a definite external and internal market. If they do, the prices that are accorded those rabbits do not end up being beneficial to the farmer, such that you don't get a profit, you get a loss.
And you as Alcare Kenya, what markets do you have, and at how much do you sell your produce?
I think the first thing is for me to think, how do I benefit the farmer before I benefit myself? We buy live rabbits at 500 shillings per kilogram. The minimum is 3 kilograms, and therefore the minimum you can get for a rabbit supplied to Alcare Kenya is 1,500. People get as high as 3,000 shillings per rabbit, which is very good. But if you do your mathematics well, you do the subsidizing method in terms of feeding very well, you will get profit from rabbit farming. My markets come in two ways: selling the meat and selling the breeds. The breeds are bought by farmers who want to do rabbit farming in Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, and the whole of Africa. I supply my breed because it's a pedigree breed. Apart from that, we sell young rabbits. Young is the mature adults for which the farmers want to use to grow rabbits. For meat, we sell to local supermarkets, we sell to some butcheries, we sell to some hotels. We also sell the meat as roasted meat or food in bus stages. If you go to Kinoo stage, Muthaiga stage, Rongai stage, you go to Gitaro stage, you go to Kikuyu stage, you go to Thogoto, you go to Dagoretti, you go to Wangige, and you go to Ekatano and Rironi all the way to Lemuru. When people are coming from work from 5 p.m, we roast that meat like you see other people doing eggs. And we've actually established royalties. There are some people I see, for some consumers, who pass there every day to taste the rabbit meat, because as we said, it is the best of the white meat. Yeah, and it also makes red eggs beautiful, as we said. Because of low cholesterol and high levels of protein. Of course, there are people who come here and buy raw meat, but not many, who supply maybe Uganda or Tanzania. Tourist hotels, they come here and buy the meat. So we just rota for them and they buy. It is 750 per kilogram. But it's also quality, and for those who want quality, you'll get quality. We have orders for parties, for occasions, for homes, especially in affluent areas like Karen and Muthaiga here, and we stock those fridges each and every week with rabbit meat.
All right, so we can say Alcare Kenya is a market for the rabbit farmers.
Yes.
Because you definitely buy from them.
Yes.
Rabbits.
Yes. Contracted farmers.
Yes, contracted farmers.
Yes.
So what other markets are viable for these upcoming rabbit farmers?
Let me say that the market for rabbit meat is your stomach. Anybody who is your contact in your phone right now is actually a target for rabbit meat. And when we do it that way, we will have a bigger market here than the export market that we are having for Canada 3,000 and Italy. The upcoming market is about a container every month. We will have a local market accelerated, and we will not have a problem with rabbit farming in Kenya in terms of markets.
Wow. And on that space, what do you think the government can do to implement this?
What comes to my mind when it comes to the government, first of all, is to provide for the capacity. The first thing is that market is a challenge in Kenya, but we have all these friends all over the world who are coming here to give us loans. We can actually improve the balance of trade by selling rabbit meat to countries like China, because they are doing our SGR and other projects in this country. Europe, many other countries, the local organizations, the government has various outlets. For instance, Kenya Meat Commission. They should actually have an area where they will be slaughtering rabbit meat, and currently they don't have. We have other parastatals like EPC, who should actually be able to promote rabbit farming in this country, to prepare it for international markets. Believe you me, there is no country in Africa that has ever exported rabbit meat to the European Union since the earth was created. For you to enter that market, it becomes increasingly difficult, because you have to start from the formation point of view, where you build a slaughterhouse. That meat is tested for traceability issues, and before you are given that license to export to the European Union. That basically is an environment that government can come in and be able to facilitate. If it's the issue of what we call vaccines, we have Kevevapi, yeah? We have University of Nairobi for research. They should actually come in, do that research and implement the research, because the problem with the research in this country is that you do the research and the research paper is put on the shelves and it's never implemented. The issue is implementation. So the government should come in to promote both internal structures and external structures for us to be able to sell the rabbit meat internationally and nationally. In terms of the basic costs of the farmers, the other day we had the issue of 16%. It has already hit on the farmers right now, because now the claimer is for me to increase the buying price from 500 onwards, because the cost on feeds, the cost on drugs has actually come up. And the way the government can come in is actually provide subsidies, so that the farmer is never touched in terms of increasing this VAT and other duties that are around here, so that the farmer can be able to produce at a lower production cost. Also, in terms of regulation, we should have the banks actually directed to come up with products that are meant for agriculture, not only rabbit farming, but also agriculture as a whole, to be able to boost it. At the rate we are going now, there is no bank that is farmer friendly, because of collaterals and because of loan limits without even grace period and all that. People like IRA are government oriented. They should actually come up with insurance packages for farmers, not only for rabbits but also other areas, but more so for rabbits, because they are not there right now. We don't have products that are geared towards promoting the rabbit farmer.
What licenses and insurance should I have to kick off rabbit farming?
You should have rabbit farming insurance. Very, very important. You don't need many licenses, but you need the trading licenses. But also what you need to think about is affiliations, like joining Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, taking your products to KEBS for analysis, and also KILD, Kenya Industrial Research Development Institute, veterinary office that is near you, interact with it, so they can be able as a farmer to help you in terms of diseases, guiding you, like even giving you information if there are any outbreak of diseases around your area. Very, very important that you become friendly to the local government office. In the near future, Alcare will be an employment creator. I say that because we intend to expand in the various areas that we are in right now. We have introduced the organic fertilizer, we have introduced the scent candles, finished leather. In the near future, we want to establish a big factory for tanning the leather, now with the machines, not the manual way of doing it like we are doing it here. Sizable slaughterhouse. We want also to go into information provision in terms of equipping people with information on rabbit farming. We receive about 700 calls a day. Most of them are for, do you buy rabbits? While the answer right now should be no, the answer in the future should be yes, so that we can be able to provide for employment and of course be a generator of income for more farmers apart from the ones that we have right now, the 1,500 in Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, Zimbabwe, Nigeria and Ghana, of course US, in Texas, and also we want to establish a farm in Italy.
Looking at the economic status of Kenya today, where do we see rabbit farming in the markets in the near future?
In the near future, this will be a very reliable sector of the agriculture sector, subsector in the agriculture sector. Going by the inquiries that we get on a daily basis, many people are interested in doing rabbit farming on its own and also as part of integrated farming, where farmers have cows and goats and all that, and they want to also try rabbits. And for me, I'm looking for making the rabbit be able to kick out all the others from revenue point of view.
Thank you so much, Mr. George, for coming to our show tonight.
Karibu sana.
Well, that's all we had prepared for you today. But tune in again next week where we get to explore more areas in the agribusiness sector. From me, Tabitha Muthoni, and the entire On the Farms of Africa team, have a lovely week.